cellar stairs. The old preacher sat watching the door, saw the doorknob turn, and the door opened. It looked like a young woman. He backed up and said, "Who are you? What do you want?" The hot sort of swayed like she didn't know what to do. Then she just faded out. The old preacher waited, and when he didn't hear any more, that scared the absolute poopy out of me. I'm telling y'all, like, I like it, but I'm also like, oh, at the same time. Okay. He was sweating and dribbling all over, but he was a brave man and thought he'd able to see it through. So he turned his chair to where he could watch out and waited. It wasn't long before he heard the heart start up again, slowly, step, 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 closer and closer, step, step, and it was right at the door. The preacher stood up and held out his Bible in front of him. Then the door slowly turned. The door opened wide. This time the preacher spoke quiet, like he said, "In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, who are you and what do you want?" The aunt came right across the room, straight to him, took hold of his coat. It was a young woman about 20 years old. Her hair was worn and tangled, and the flesh was dropping off her face. You could see the bones and part of her teeth. She had no eyeballs, but there was a sort of blue light way back in her eye sockets. She had no nose to her face. Yeah, I'm like thinking, how did they let us read this in middle school, elementary school, bro? Like, how did they let us read and be like, yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, bro. Okay. Then she started talking. Oh, please don't speak. It sounded like her voice was coming and going with the wind blowing. And she told how her lover had killed her for her money and buried her in the cellar. Oh my gosh. She said if the preacher would dig up her bones and bury her properly, she could rest. Then she told him to take the end joint of the little finger from her left hand and to lay it in the collection plate at the next church meeting to find out who had murdered her. And she said, "If you come back here once more after that, you'll hear my voice at midnight, and I'll tell you where my money is hid, and you can give it to the church." The aunt sobbed like she was tired, and she sunk down toward the floor and was gone. The preacher found her bones and buried them in the graveyard. The next Sunday, the preacher put the finger bone in the collection plate. When a certain man happened to touch it, it stuck to his hand. The man jumped up and rubbed and scraped it over the bone, trying to get it off. Then he went to screaming like he was going crazy. driveway and used the car to drive back and forth. I had driven into the town that night to see a basketball game. Sorry if you can hear my stomach. Oh my god, I'm hungry. But I'm gonna go eat in a little bit, so no worries. She was on her way home. As she pulled away from the school, she noticed a red pickup truck follow her out of the parking lot. Oh no, girl. A few minutes later, the truck was still behind her. I guess we're going in the same direction, she thought. Oh, girl. She began to watch the truck in the mirror, the rearview mirror. When she changed her speed, the driver of the truck changed his speed. When she passed a car, so did he. Then he turned on his high beams, flooding her car with light. He left them on for almost a minute. He probably wants to pass me, she thought, but she was becoming uneasy. Usually she drove home over a back road. Not too many people went that way, but when she turned onto that road, so did the truck. Oh no, I've gotta get away from him, she thought, and she began to drive faster. Then he turned his high beams on again. After a minute, he turned them off. Then he turned them on again and off again. She drove even faster, but the truck driver stayed right behind her. Then he turned his high beams on again. Once more, her car was ablaze with light. What is he doing? She wondered. What does he want? Then he turned them off again. A minute later, he had them on again, and then on. And then he left them on. At last, she pulled into her driveway, and the truck pulled in right behind her. She jumped from the car and ran to the house. Call the police, she screamed at her father. Out in the driveway, she could see the driver of the truck. He had a gun in his hand. When the police arrived, they started to arrest him, but he pointed to the girl's car. "Don't want me," he said. "You want him." Crouched behind the driver's seat, there was a man with a knife. As the driver of the truck explained it, the man slipped into the girl's car just before she left the school. He saw it happen, but there was no way he could stop it. He thought about getting the police, but he was afraid to leave her, so he followed her. Each time the man in the back seat reached up to overpower her, the driver of the truck turned on his high beams. Then the man dropped down, afraid that someone might see him. Oh my god, that is freaky. I don't want to leave it there, y'all. I don't want to leave it there, but I don't know. I think I'm gonna okay, I'm gonna end it. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry because I'm like, yeah, no, we're not gonna end it like that. That's pretty intense. To end the video like with that story. The story was good, but man, that is scary. Okay, so this last story that I'm reading y'all is called Wait Till Martin Comes. Old man was out for a walk when a storm came up. He looked for a place to take shelter. Soon he came to an old house. He ran up on the porch and knocked on the door, but nobody answered. By now, rain was pouring down, thunder was booming, and lightning was flashing. So he tried the door. When he found it was unlocked, he went inside. Except for a pile of wooden boxes, the house was empty. He broke up some of the boxes and made a fire with them. Then he sat down in front of the fire and dried himself. It was so warm and cozy that he fell asleep. When he woke up, a black cat was sitting near the fire. It stared at him for a while, then it purred. That's a nice cat, he thought, and dozed off again. When he opened his eyes, there was a second cat in the room, but this one was as big as a wolf. It looked at him very closely and asked, "Shall we do said the other cat. Let's wait till Martin